Yellowstone ecosystem is a fire-adapted ecosystem.
You start to pull on one thread of nature's web and you affect the integrity of the entire web.
Resilient landscapes mean that the landscape itself can absorb a disturbance like a fire and still continue to function as it had before.
Fire's role in the ecosystem is complex. It can create healthy landscapes and build a better environment for native plants and animals. It can also have negative effects, making soil hydrophobic or allowing invasive species to take hold.
The first thing to understand about disturbance ecology or fire ecology is that fire is a natural and necessary component of these systems. And these forests in this area have evolved with wildfire for really their whole existence. Well before humans were here, fires were burning in this landscape. And so the landscape is resilient to fire, but humans can affect that by eliminating fire. And we've done that over a lot of the dry forest of the West. In the 1900s, we fought fire in many places that historically had frequent fires, and the resilience of those systems declined because of human intervention.
How can we manage fire in a way that benefits our forests and grasslands? The answer is building resilient landscapes. A resilient landscape allows fire to play its natural role. Healthy forests benefit from fires to clear overgrowth, increase forest health, and improve forage for wildlife. But how do we create resilient landscapes?
In ecology, when we speak about resilience, we're talking about the ability of a landscape or an ecosystem to absorb a disturbance, to experience a wildfire, and then come back to the ecosystem stage and function where it was before. For instance, a forest shows resilience to wildfire if it burns and then regenerates again as a forest. Might be slightly different species, there's certainly different sequences of species after wildfire, but if it regenerates as a forest, then that's showing some ecological resilience.
Your end product should be a mosaic look in the national forest. If everything's old and everything's dead, everything burns. But if you have different levels of growth at different times, you get this mosaic pattern in there. And that's what a healthy forest is.
Mosaic patterns create natural fire breaks, increase plant diversity, and provide better habitat for wildlife. There are several ways to encourage these mosaic landscapes. One is using prescribed fire to reduce fuels. Prescribed burns are planned in advance to improve forest health, reduce hazardous fuels, and enhance plant growth and regeneration, and they are secured by trained fire personnel.
We have suppression crews that are trained to fight fires and keep communities safe and keep fires from coming off the federal lands onto private lands. But we also have crews that go out and collect science, fire effects data, historical data on fires, as well as the effects of fires 1 year post-fire, 5-year post-fire, and 10-year post-fire. And these fire effects analysis and these fire behavior analysis really help us to make sure that we're making the right decisions.
Another option to decrease fuels is to reduce tree stand density by logging or thinning. Thinning increases the health of the remaining trees, making them less vulnerable to insect damage and disease. Native insects play a role in our ecosystem, but populations may reach unhealthy levels in single species and aged timber stands. Wildfire can easily damage dense, uniform stands. Fuel reduction works most effectively when everyone is involved.
Where we're standing here today is just one example of the fuel projects that we did. We, as you could see, greatly reduced the amount of trees we have here. This married up with some BLM work, some state work, and some Firewise work across the river here behind me by the ranch, which enabled us to successfully suppress the spots that came into this area as it was coming down off the mountain. We were able to put firefighters here safely, and the results were as we hoped. We had no losses of structures.
In the fire-adapted ecosystem we have in the western United States, resilient landscapes thrive after low-intensity fire. Some plants and animals depend on fire for survival.
aspen resprouts after severe fires. Lodgepole pine has serotinous cones that can drop seeds after a severe fire. So we have species that are well adapted to severe fires, the resprouters and the cedars. And then we have species like Doug fir that has thick bark and small, light seeds that can disperse to areas after a fire. That's well adapted for lower severity or more frequent fires.
Fire releases nutrients in the soil needed for plant growth and animal nutrition. These minerals are key for many functions. Fireweed, a native food source for moose, elk, and mule deer, may have protein levels 4 to 6% higher for the first 2 years after a fire. Fire can improve food sources for wildlife. It can also create new habitat.
You look at a burnt forest and you take many of the cavity nesting birds that we have fly over that, and they look at that and they go, which $1 million home am I going to live in this summer? This is so great.
Resilient landscapes are one component of the cohesive strategy, but to be effective, we need all three. Resilient landscapes help lower the risk to our fire-adapted communities and allows safe and effective wildfire response, managing fires effectively with firefighter safety as the first priority, to take place.